What is up? We are live. Welcome back, Web3 DJs. We've got our resident DJ in the house, Mr. Alan Reyes. What's happening?
What's going on? What's going on?
What's good, man? It's been a minute since we talked. I know I see everything that you're doing. You're just head down grinding like always, but we're interested to hear some of the stuff you got going on with Solana Slumdogz. I know you've been working hard on that, and just get your opinion on the market, what you're seeing right now, and yeah, so what's up?
Yeah, actually, bro, as a matter of fact, last time we talked to you, you didn't even have the neck tat. What's going on here?
No, I just got it. Dude, and it's funny because when I went, so I was driving, right? I've been wanting a neck tattoo for the longest. So I was driving and I was like, oh my God, bro, like it's gonna hurt. Like I'm gonna feel like they're cutting off my throat. Like, should I just like leave? And I was like, you know what, like just go for it. And I pulled up and I was walking inside. And the guy, before he was going to tap me up, he was like, are you sure you want to do this? He's like, the last guy I did was in pain. And I was like, bro, what the hell? Like, you're about to tattoo me. I was like, don't tell me that the last guy you tattooed was like suffering. And then I was like, for me, like, if I'm there, like, I usually want to commit. I don't know. And especially like if they go for it. I don't know if you guys have tattoos, but like,
yeah,
if someone starts something, I'm like, just go for it. Like, I don't care. I mean, I'm not going to die. You know, I'm like, that's what I always think. I'm like, well, you're not gonna die, so might as well just, it's gonna hurt, but it's okay. And it's funny enough, it actually ended up being the least painful tattoo I've ever gotten.
Really?
Oh wow!
Swear to God, I don't know why.
Huh?
Yeah,
sick, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is really interesting, actually. My fiance and I, we're about to get married in 18 days, 17 days, something like that. Who's counting? And yeah, part of our plans is as soon as we get back from the honeymoon, getting kind of like a nice little piece to commemorate it. And so, yeah,
dope.
Definitely. Yes, sir.
Right on. So head down working, man. Solana Slumdogz, what's up? You guys are about to launch here pretty soon, right?
Yes. So we launch on the 20th. Sorry, let me tell some of the guys that some of the people on Discord are asking where we're at.
Nice. Bring them in.
Yeah. Live. I'm just at everyone.
Like, comment, subscribe, put it in the Discord, retweet.
Yeah. So pretty much the Slumdogz, we've been working on them for about 4 to 5 months, and just the art side of it. I've been in the NFT space now for about a year now. Kind of started back, kind of like a little bit after summer. And it's kind of interesting to see where the space was last year to where it is now, right? And especially now, I mean, you're talking like everyone is like full blown panic. Everything's kind of like up in the air. People are kind of like, what's going on? And I think it's kind of interesting, because right now I feel like really like the projects and communities that stay during this time are the ones that are gonna stay for the next 4 to 5, 10 years and try to build out the space, right? Because that's how I like to look at it. So it's kind of like you're weeding out the people that are meant to stay and the people that really aren't, right? Because I don't think the NFT space has really seen a bear market at all.
Sure.
I think, and so, and it's very interesting to see it. I still believe in all the technology and everything. I still think it's the wave. I just think it's really. I always tell people it's kind of like a cycle, right? Where the stock market goes through bears and bulls, and it's kind of like. I always say it's like the same thing here. You're going to have your ups and downs, and then new things or new innovation comes out of, the down. And that's kind of like one of the things that we really want to focus on with the Slumdogz is, so I've, been in the space for a while. I've come to realize not everybody and not everybody really knows like what we're doing. And when I mean that is the technology is so new that everybody is kind of like testing what works, what doesn't, what can you do with it, how far can you take it, what kind of application can you add to your NFT.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we're actually doing a little bit different, like with the Slumdogz, is we're going to use a part of the funds to launch like a research team. And so what I want the research team to do pretty much is find out where the space is headed and what can be implemented in the up-to-date market and what's going on now that can be used to kind of advance not only the space forward, but also the project. So what I mean by that is, for example, let's say a project says like, hey, Hoff, we're gonna give you guys metaverse land, and then we're gonna give you guys merchandise, and we're gonna give you A, B, and C.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that a lot of times, even on the projects that deliver on their roadmap, they still fall short. Either they fall short because there's a new trend going on to where land is not the meta no more, or there's the next best thing, right? Everybody likes to follow the, how do you call it, like the shiny
The
objects.
yellow brick road.
We all want to follow that, like what's the next best thing, right? And especially when you're in
Yeah.
NFTs, you're dealing with like probably, I would say 85 to 90% of people on NFTs are flippers, if you're being honest.
Sure, definitely.
And so I feel like, dealing with that kind of stuff for us, it's going to be like, how can we create or develop a project that's going to survive the test of time? And so for us, that research development team that we're going to launch is going to be very crucial to that. So where it's like really finding out what is, how can we bring value to you, the end user, right? Because at the end of the day, let's say we try to buy some land. I mean, it's cool, right? It's great. You can use the land, but I mean, are you going to spend 4 hours a day just roaming around in Decentraland? Like that's like, it brings value because it's cool, right? It's awesome. And it's like, oh, look, you get land and you get to like, say it's your land and things like that. But we're still a little bit far. We're still a little bit away from those types of things, bringing value to the end user, the holder, unless the community is obviously solid and strong, and whatever they have going on. And but for us, that's kind of like what we're trying to do a little bit differently, is to where we're not necessarily promising an end road, but we're more towards like working on the, okay, this is where we're at. And now, in order to be here for the next 5 to 10 years, what are those steps that we need to take as an organization and a community to ensure that? And so that's really where that research development team goes, and it's pretty much 100% community directed. So what we're going to do is it's pretty much set up like a DAO. So where once the research team comes back and says, hey, these are the best 4 options, that this is where we see the space heading.
Mm-hmm.
This is the next trend. This is what's going to happen within the next couple of years, right? And then we're going to present those initiatives and incentives to the community. And then the holders themselves will be able to vote on where we take it, right? So then the community can also feel pretty involved in where we're going. And it gives that like camaraderie. And it also, we're also making like our Discord very private. So we're only going to allow members to pretty much enter the Discord. So a lot of times too, what I've noticed, like even with myself having a little bit of experience, like running a project and like, dealing with this, I've noticed that a lot of times, like people that FUD projects don't even own the projects.
Yeah.
Like people that
For
say
sure
about projects, like don't even own them. And so for me, one of the things that I really wanted to make sure I focus on is only really trying to understand what the community wants and what they care about, right? Because someone can come in here and think about it, like they can come in and they can fudge your project and have no clue, no idea. They don't even hold your stuff, but they got everything to say, right? And so for us, one of the things that we want to make different with the Slumdogz is make it very private, like literally private. Like if you don't own it, you're pretty much not gonna, unless we post it on social media, you're not really gonna know what's going on. And so the reason for that is we only want to cater to the people that actually hold it. We only want to hear the voices, opinions, and what they think, what they care about, what they're going through. Because at the end of the day, that's who matters. And as long as we're able to execute accordingly, and obviously it'll show hopefully through like social media and like hopefully the floor price increases and things like that. But that'll also incentivize people to want to be a part of that community. Like, oh, they got something going on. Well, I can't really see, and the only way to access, it's kind of like, think about it, like kind of like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? Where I don't think you can access their Discord if you don't own an ape, right?
I'm not sure, but it sounds right. You probably have to verify. At least there's going to be channels that you can't get into for sure.
Yeah, I can promise you I wouldn't know.
And so that's what I mean. So that's one of the things that we're really, really focusing on, and then we're really taking our time, like with the art. Like we're like, the arts literally just the art itself has taken us a very long time. And so with that, with this project, I really want it to be very, very paced and very very thought out, and that again, that's where that research team really comes into play. And that research team is going to be a mixture of Web3 degenerates, Web2 specialists, business owners, moguls, entrepreneurs. I just found out that if you own a Hangout Hawk from Gary Vee's collection, you can have a Zoom meeting with him.
Yeah.
So people like that, that's what I'm looking for. That right there. So like for me, instantly I'm like, okay, then if, depending on, I don't know how much a Hangout Hawk is, I'm sure it's like up there. But that's what we're looking for, is that opportunity to talk to these Web3 moguls, Web3 developers, business owners that actually understand, not only understand Web3, but understand Web2 to an extent that is huge. And so for us, it would be huge, obviously, to like, get an opportunity to say, hey, like perfect example is Gary Vee, right? Where you say, hey, Gary Vee, this is what I have. This is what we're trying to do. Where do you see the space going in a couple of years? What do you kind of advise? And then, kind of based off of those observations and, advice, we would then come to the community and say, hey, we've come to the conclusion that these are the next best things or the next best steps that we need to take as an organization. And then with that, allow the community to decide, okay, let's do step one. And then just work on it and execute. And then hopefully, we execute on step one, and then that allows us to grow more, bring in more people, and then now we can again continue it and kind of like adapt and evolve with the ongoing space.
Sure.
That's kind of like one of the biggest things for me.
Yeah, I think that's a really outstanding idea, right, man? Giving the power back to the people, that's all anybody ever wants, right? Is to feel important, to feel empowered. I've seen some other projects do what you are talking about doing, kind of rather than saying, let me get as many people in here as I can, how about we position ourselves kind of as a true premium product, right? Something that's, for lack of a better phrase, almost luxury, right? Either you have it or you don't. And so I'm really interested to see how that works out for you. I think it's going to be great. One question that I did have, though, is, you talked about letting your community decide your direction. But you or your team have really taken kind of like step zero in making a huge decision for the direction of the project by electing to go with Solana. So can you talk to us a little bit about why you decided to, go with Solana and how maybe that plays into your long-term vision?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things, so like for me, when I started on TikTok. So that was my thing. I was a TikTok creator, content creator, where I would talk about NFTs and the Web3 space and everything going on there. And I actually, funny enough, every single time I talked about Solana, I would actually get more people to interact with my post. And so, funny enough, I kind of started thinking about that. I was kind of considering. I was like, why do more people tend to gravitate to me when I talk about Solana compared to like ETH? Because for me, I'm all about ETH. This is my first time launching on Solana, but for me, like I love OpenSea, I love Ethereum. I don't like the gas fees, but I like the network itself. Like to me, Ethereum is like king. It doesn't mean Solana is a great blockchain, but for me, like my go-to was ETH. So I always kind of like pondered why people really gravitated towards Solana. And I really do think it's because really the demographic that we're reaching, because especially like on TikTok, you're not talking about people that, are just in the United States. And unfortunately, when you're talking about like the world, not everybody has the same wallets, right? To where like maybe for us, $70 gas fee is like, all right, like maybe we can do it. But maybe to someone like in Mexico, that $70 is what they make in a week. Right. It's kind of like, it separates the gap a lot. And so I think one of the things with Solana is that it's a lot more user friendly, to where it allows more of the people that wouldn't be able to kind of get in on an ETH blockchain, get in on another blockchain. But and at the end of the day, I really think it's kind of like the same. And it's really all about how you choose to deliver, right? I mean, for the last couple of weeks, we've seen OK Bears be on the top charts for the last like 2-3 weeks, I think. And it's a Solana blockchain. And, funny enough, it's more of like, what are we going to do to execute no matter what chain we're in, right? And so for us, it's really, I think that's where most of my audience is. I think that's one of the reasons why we also decided to do it. And I had a bunch of comments. Like if you go through my TikToks, you can see when are you launching on Solana? When are you doing on Solana? And I had a lot of people that don't touch ETH just because they hate like the gas fees. And so for one, that kind of like eliminates the problem of like only, for one, the fees, but it also allows more people to kind of come in at a lower entry point. Right now, I think Solana's like $52, I believe so.
Yep.
And so, if I were to launch this project on Ethereum, it would be $52, but then you're talking about, I don't know, maybe like 50, $70 more on the gas fee. So now and it also messes with the person's head, right? Because when you're buying a project, you're like, oh well, it's worth $50, but then the gas fees are 70, and so that kind of like it leads a lot of people away from the wanting to purchase, simply because the fee itself it seems to be worth more than the project, right? And so for us, that's really, one of the things is it allows more people to come in and integrate into the ecosystem. But I've noticed like there's a lot of really good projects on Solana. Like there's a lot of games. There's a lot of, I feel like they have a little bit more freedom actually than Ethereum projects. I'm not sure if it's because there's less eyes on it, but I feel like there's a lot more freedom for Solana projects to experiment with what they're doing. And so that's kind of like one of the advantages I think that we're going to see with Solana coming up soon. And I actually do believe, if we're honest, like I think it's going to be a Solana summer. Like I do think that Solana, like for the most part, is going to be a lot of the plays that change. And I've been noticing a trend on Twitter to where, and you're going to subtly notice these. Like a good example was OK Bears reaching #1 chart. That was like the first like wake up call for people to be like, oh shit, Solana can compete. Yeah. And then you have like, I don't know if you guys saw the whole not okay bears on.
Yeah, were you in those spaces last night?
No, bro.
Oh, that was so funny.
Oh,
people got heated.
No, bro. No, when I saw the not okay bears, like I was like, this is. I don't do derivatives personally. Like if I just don't do derivatives, I don't know how you guys feel about them. But like for me, I don't really like, and not even a derivative. This was a copy paste flip. Posted again.
It was just a pump and dump. But then it got DMCA'd and people just lost their ass, and then people were all hurt, right? And they're like, oh, well, we got a centralized OpenSea picking and choosing and all this other stuff. And I'm like, this is not okay, bear. Like, look at the project. You really think that this is going to be something people are going to be in long term? Come on,
bro. No, that's what I said. I even made a TikTok and a tweet about it, and I was like, on the tweet I said, the not okay bears trend is gonna. I even gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I was like, it's gonna last a few weeks and then die. And it literally the next day it was delisted on OpenSea automatically. And I know a lot of people when I made that tweet and when I made the TikTok, a lot of people were like, they're doing great things for the community and they donated this and that and this. And I'm like, dude, look, first of all, if you're launching a project and the first thing you do is copy someone's fucking thing that they did, they worked on, they paid for, they built up the brand and everything, and I'm just riding off of your back to really and see this, it's different for derivatives, because derivatives at least work on their own type of art, and they're just, yeah, you can ride on the trend of like people like the apes, so you can get like a random mutant ape. That's fine, because that's a little bit different. But when you're literally just copy paste flip and even if you execute on the roadmap, I feel like it's more of the intent. Like someone that's really legit and really serious about doing that is not gonna straight up just rip off one that already exists and then post it again. Do you know what I mean? Like for the most part, I've never seen. Think about it. I've never seen a successful derivative like that.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, well, Solana gets a bad rap. Like I was in Solana like right when it started, because I was like, I want to see what it's about, right? And for me, I just like being proficient in multiple blockchains. That's why I'm on Tezos. That's why I mess around on Solana, because I understand that high gas fees are not sustainable long term. So if this gets main adoption, and like you were saying, the rest of the world comes in, they're not going to pay like a credit card transaction fee for $75. It's not going to happen. It's unsustainable. And the thing with Solana, though, in the beginning, there was just tons of that rip-off stuff, copy, paste, and it was fast. It was like boom, get in, get out, and straight up rugs. And so I know a lot of people that jumped in and just got burned hard because it's just a whole different ballgame. Now, I think a lot of that's settled down and there's some more legitimacy around it, some big financial investment. FTX is behind, a lot of these projects. There's a lot of big names, athletes, which isn't always a good thing. But I think now it's kind of coming into its own. I looked at the top 100 on OpenSea right now. 16 of them are top 100, and they're all Solana projects. I don't remember when that was a thing. But it's funny because all the ETH people just talk shit about Solana, and all the Solana people talk shit about the ETH. And I'm like, hey, man, they can coexist. You can go have fun for a little bit of money. If you don't want the rich, just jump over to Solana. There's some good projects for 2 Sol, 3, 4, 5. Like you can get in for, $100, $200 and, have just as much fun, get the community, do all that without jumping in and, having a significant investment.
And you know what? That's kind of like, that's kind of like funny to me in a sense to where like a great example is like the recent thing that happened like with the Zookies, like with the whole Zagabond thing where, you know, he admitted to doing what he did or whatever. But I noticed like a lot of people were like, like some people were really happy. Like, yeah, you deserve it. And I think like the thing here is like Zagabond's not going to get hurt. The ones that get hurt are the people in the project. And to me, a lot of the sentiment when the NFT space first started is we're all going to make it. And that includes Solana, that includes the Wax blockchain, that includes BNB, that includes ETH, that includes, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, and that's kind of like where I don't really like to like gear towards. For me, it's like I want to see success all across the board. And I think that we as a collective in order, it's not really like, it's not me against you. It's like if you buy the next Bored Ape and you get 2-3 million, I should be rooting for you because you made a great play, and I should be happy. I should be like encouraging, like hell yeah, dude, fuck yeah, like I can't wait till I get that opportunity to get into that kind of environment. And it's kind of like I don't know, social media and how the times are going. Everybody's like on the fence. It's kind of like we're all kind of like battling for it. So it's kind of a tough little place to be in. But for me, like I like to keep it more towards like, in a sense, a little bit neutral, but always try to keep it a little bit positive. Kind of like how Hoff was saying, like, have you been in some of the spaces? I was listening to like 3 of them yesterday, and they were like talking shit.
I'm like, dude, it was some drama. I was like, damn, I haven't seen the NFT space get this heated. And I was thinking about it. I was like, it's because people just lost their ass, right? If you were investing in Not Okay Bears and they pulled it, like there goes your money. And it was getting like 0.2, 0.3. People were like really 0.4. Yeah. And so it got ripped. So imagine you had, 4 ETH worth of that. You're thinking I'm going to get in, get out, and then you get the rug pulled under you. So they're mad, right? And then the market itself is down. So, if you're in other projects or you have crypto, like you're hurting right now. And so people rightfully are just going to be angry as is. But it was cracking me up. I'm like, damn, you guys just like, stupid.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Alan nailed it. He said that like it's all about the intent, right? Nobody is creating one of these like explicit derivative projects and saying, let me create something that's going to be sustainable in the long run, right? I mean, think about that. Like you said, no, anybody who is really about the people and about building something long term is not just going to rip something up. They're going to want to create something that's their own. And so, yeah, I mean, it's tough, but.
So imagine you're trying to get in on the action, right? And your intent was to come in here and try to sell out a project, make a few $1 million, and you've been doing it, but you get in late in the game, right? So you're launching right when the market tanks and right when people are wising up to that, and they're not going to do it. Like, I bet there's a lot of people that had spent some time and were just trying to get there just to make it, that like hit it at the wrong time, and it's not paying off, right? And so that's where you see the anger. It's like it's not as easy just to come in here like it was last year and throw some crap up and just get away with a rug because the market's smarter now. So
yeah, let me put it to you this way. There's a reason that I say you never lose if you learn. Because if I didn't say that, I'd have some really painful losses, man. And I mean, it's tough, but it's just like exactly like what you said. People are getting in at the wrong time. It's because they're hopping into something that they didn't do research on, that they didn't, spend time analyzing. They're At the end of the day, what we have to remember is, to some degree, actually to a high degree, this is kind of comparable to gambling, right? I mean, we can call it like a little bit of educated gambling, but you're still in many regards betting on somebody whose face you've never seen, hoping that they're going to carry out with these like grandeur schemes that they're putting on a piece of paper. And we're investing way more than I bet on a nightly basis into these people, right?
It's all speculation. There's no market. The market's been around for a year. How long's the stock market been here for?
Exactly.
You have way more data that you don't know what the true price is. Take any project and multiply whatever the floor price is times however many units they have, and just ask yourself, does it make sense? Does this picture that's been around for a while, is this project worth $100 million? Look at any other $100 million companies and compare an NFT project in 1 year against any like mid cap, small cap. Just look at the stock market. Pull up any of them and compare it. Is this a real business? If you compare it, so you had valuations that were just out of control first year, and now things are settling. And I think the true price is going to settle. But, that's what's fun about this space, though. Watching this evolution, like you were talking about in the beginning, Alan, how people have to be creative. Here's Damon John, the guy that's on Shark Tank.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote a whole book about this, about why it's bad for entrepreneurs to get a lot of money, because it kills creativity. And he related it to his, I think it was FUBU, where he had to come up with these marketing campaigns where he was spray painting like the front of, the little doors that in New York that roll down. He started painting those, and he started thinking outside of the box, and he came up with all these different ways to like grassroots market that never would have happened if someone just gave him like $1 million. He might have done traditional marketing or however, spend it on advertisement in magazines. But that is what I love most about this. I like, I'm an entrepreneur. I just have a passion for business. And that first year, there was a lot of innovation. There was so much stuff going on, but what worked last year is not going to work year 2. It's not going to work year 3. And so to watch the people that can figure this out, the people that can continue to grind and get through this, to your point, those are the ones that are going to win. And that's the fun part for me, sitting back and watching like who's doing this.
Yeah. Alan, what would you say to that? You were the artist for Crypto Cannibals. I'm assuming you're the artist for Solana Slumdogz, correct? Oh,
No.
You are not. Okay,
No.
okay. But just let me ask you, how have you seen, the success that you've amounted impact the creativity in your own life? Talk to us about that. That's a really interesting point, Hofstra.
So I think I think at first it was more of like, and this is a great example, Hoff, because so at first I didn't have anything, right? I'm starting off on the ground, don't have anything, don't have an audience, don't have nothing. And so for me, it was really more of like, I'm just here to create. And so at first I would just start creating, and there was like no point into my creations. It was like, hey, this is a great idea, do it. And I'm like, all right, cool. So then I would start to implement these things that I had no idea if they would work. I didn't know if they would. And it was just like more free balling it, where I was like, oh, this might work and this might work. And so like now, because I've established myself a little bit more, I kind of like deal with more of like, I have to be more of like the lead, right? To where I don't deal too much time in drawing. I'm like, okay, I have to have a meeting. I have to do a live. I have to reach out to people. I have to make sure I talk to the devs. And so I kind of took up the role of like, okay, now you're ahead. You're in charge now. Like, you've created something. Now what do you do with it? And so now it's like I have to set up teams. Like I've taken the role of being the artist to now being I don't like to use the word manager, more like the leader, right? I'm like, okay, now I have to lead. I have to, back then I had time. I had 5, 6, 7 hours to draw all day and then make TikToks. Now I'm like, you got 2 hours and you got 7 meetings and you got Discord and you got to meet with your dev and then you got a live. And I'm like, oh shit. So I think it's more of like, depending on what you're doing, you shift to become like, you become a boss. You become like a CEO in a sense, right? You become like, okay, now you have to figure it out. You established it, and now you figure it out. And so I would say it's kind of cut back a little bit on some of the creativity, but it's really like, so what I'm trying to do right now is just establish it. I want it to be established to where I can step back and then be like, okay, where now we can have fun. Now it has a foundation. It can sustain itself. It's a brand. It's there. Now you can kind of go back to your grassroots and begin creating, developing, having fun, building a brand again. But for me at least, I'm in the phase of building. I have to build. I have to find my team. I have to find my developers. I have to find my brand, my voice, my community. And so I have to nurture that. And so that's kind of like, I think for me, like you step more into becoming from a hobby to a job, in a sense. And I don't mean job as in like, oh, I got to go to work, but it's like you have to go to work, right? You have to get up, you have to show up, you have to create, you have to innovate, you have to develop, you have to nurture, you have to build brand, you have to fight FUD, you have to like figure it all out. And it transitions like that, like from creative artist to like, now you're a business owner and you have to take the role of a business owner.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Hofstra.
No, I was going to say, I know last time we were talking about books, there's a book called The E-Myth Theory, and basically it's a triangle, right?
I think I read that one.
Yeah. At the bottom, you're the worker, right? Once you learn and master how to be a worker, you fire yourself, you move up to the next level, which is manager, right? And then once you figure out how to do that, you move up to the top, and you get to the top where you're at an entrepreneur where this is all working for you. But that's the part, like if you read the definition of entrepreneur, it's one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of business or enterprise, one who creates, right? So you're still an artist in a sense. You're just creating in a different way. That's what's cool about it, is watching a guy like you, because this is like a lot of other projects. It's like seeing this thing that started, that had some success, and then figuring out this next thing. And it's just as much of creating and creativity and using all those things. You're just using them in a different capacity. So I don't know. It's fun to watch. I love it.
Yeah, man. It's a little tough. It's kind of, I mean, Hoff, you're a business owner. It's a lot of like, it's a lot of new little, not nuances, but it's a lot of little details, that you have to like, and you have to, like you said, right? You're using different parts of your brain now. Cause like for me, that's what I mean. And like for me, like I find a lot of inspiration from other creators. Like for me, like looking at what other entrepreneurs, what other business owners, like how they kind of navigate the space, inspire me and help me on how to develop and create myself as a developer. Because like for me, like I don't have all the answers, right? And kind of like this is a great example for like when you asked like, are you the artist for the Slumdogz? I'm not. I found an artist that has better skill set than me. And I was like, hey, instead of like me trying to create something better than him, I'm like, hey, you're good. You want to join the team? Like you would be a great asset to it. And he's like, oh yeah, let's do it. And that's my job. My job I'm not here to be the best. I'm not here to be number one. I'm here to find the best and become number one. That's where I think like my goal is right now. It's like, okay, I got to find the best developers. I got to find the best website illustration. I got to find the best marketers. I got to find the best illustration artists. A great example, one of the incentives or initiatives that we're going to do for the Slumdogz, we're going to leave one of the votes that we're going to have is developing a graphic house. So I have a team of like 4 artists, and we're pretty good at developing illustration art. Like we're really good at like art. Like we got that down. Art, we can take care of it. I can make it look as good as you want it to look. And now for us, it's like, okay, how can we use that and then have it benefit the holders? And so one of the things that we're going to do is, we're not going to do it, but we're going to like see if the community kind of wants to go that route, is develop a graphic studio. Kind of like, I don't know if you guys have seen OX Studio. They're the ones that launched like the Three Landers. They've launched like a couple of other projects. And so we're kind of going to try to see if we can do that. If we can be like the one-stop shop for brands. Like let's say the Bored Ape Yacht Club wants new art created, and we've been in the space and we've developed art for multiple brands. We want to be in that position. And so for us, one of the things that we want to do is like, let's say we're developing art for the next Bored Ape Yuga Labs PFP thing. And then I wanted to where, because we're the ones developing the art, where we either get like a bunch of whitelist spots for the Slumdog holders, or there's some sort of benefit because the creators are the ones that funded that studio are like the holders, and then I want them to benefit. Like, oh yeah, Bored Ape Yacht Club is making, choosing us to make their next collection, and then we, because we're the ones doing it, we get to offer and extend those benefits and perks to our holders because they're the ones that helped kind of create that initiative. And so that's kind of like one of the things that we're really for me, it's like I think like when I think about the Web3 space, it's all it is Web2 on the blockchain. It's just literally business on the blockchain. And so I used to think like when I first started, I'm like, oh, it's this whole new different set of rules and structures and systems, and I got to think of like something that's never been done. And now I'm like, oh wait, hold up. What you have to do really is create, like, all you're really doing is your holders give you startup money, then you build something with that startup money. Hopefully what you've built can sustain itself and then be profitable. And then the holders, obviously, because if that's doing well, it would just trickle down to the holders and then they get to benefit off of that. And then let's say this company becomes a multi-billion-dollar company, then the holders are the ones that really get to benefit off of that. And so now it's shifted my gear to where it's like, okay, no, you have to build a successful Web2 business and then implement the Web3 part of it. That's all it really is. What do you guys think?
What'd you say, Hafsha?
No, I said that's a good way to put it. I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've always kind of, well, I haven't always, but recently I've made the same shift and I've started to view these projects as just like, wow, one, it's a really awesome new intuitive way to raise capital, right? I think the most beautiful thing about raising capital and using it this way to pursue your dreams is, I may have actually heard this in a Twitter space or something. So, let's say I go the traditional route and I find these big businesses to invest in me and I go open up a restaurant. Okay, it's like these business owners will probably never eat there, so on and so forth. They don't really have a vested interest. But let's say I go to the city that I want to open this restaurant in and I go poll everybody in the city and I say, hey, how about everybody in the city give me, X amount of dollars, and if you do, you can own a share in my restaurant. Well, now everybody wants to go eat at this restaurant, right? Everybody wants to win because they own a little piece of it. They have a vested interest. Now, if they see trash out in the parking lot, they're picking it up. They're, making suggestions for how to make the meals better, so on and so forth. And so I think this is like a great way to, one, establish a customer base right off of the bat, two, get some great marketing, but three, really get an awesome pool of people who have, let's say you launch a 10,000 piece collection, have 10,000 different backgrounds, and each one of them has something cool and unique and beneficial that they can bring to the table to provide value.
So I think we were talking the other day, Alan, about keeping people engaged, because again, what worked last year is not going to work this year, especially when the returns aren't as crazy and, you're not seeing, 4X, 5X, 6X, quick. You're going to have to be a little bit more patient. But what do you think? You probably have thought about this, and you don't have to have the actual answer, but what do you think is going to be the best way to keep people engaged, or new trends that are going to come up that keep people staying in projects?
I think the number one thing for me is, first off, having that environment. I think the environment is the number one indicator before something really takes off. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, let's say you're in the Proof Collective or you're in the Bored Ape Yacht Club ecosystem or something's going on. A lot of these people are not only connected, but they have a lot of influence in the space, and they have a lot of people tend to kind of like not gatekeep information, but a lot of people keep information pretty much in their communities. Like, hey, this is my community, and that's why these communities are valuable, because they have information that the public wants to know, right? And so for us, I think, like, for me, my strategy is going to be making sure I'm around those people, making sure that I'm in that group. I need to be in the group that knows where the space is heading, so that I can also be in the forefront along with them, right? So like, let's say, what's one of the most famous NFT people is like, what, Kevin Rose with the Proof Collective?
Yeah.
Don't get me
Right.
started. I'm a big Kevin Rose guy, man.
Bro, imagine being in the. I'm not in the Proof Collective, but imagine holding that. Like that, there's gotta be some shit in there that, because see, this is a beautiful example. I can go in that Discord, ask that question, and I can probably get fucking 100 individuals that know what they're talking about, have experience, have Web2 experience, like that. That is the gold. That right there is the gold, because then someone that's aware enough to be like, oh, I'm getting literally millions of dollars of advice for free because I'm in this fucking project. And that's where I think the key is going to be. I don't know what's going to keep. So for me, like, I'm lucky enough to be in the space because it's my job. And so like, I kind of like can see what's going on, and I see kind of like where people are kind of heading. And so I can kind of like adjust accordingly. But I know that there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. And I think for me, it's really like finding these groups, and that's really where that research group comes in. So for the Slumdogz, that core development team that we create is going to find those opportunities to allow us to then execute accordingly. And so it's tough to say, man, because like, I mean, I run 2 Discords, and it's literally a full-time job. It's a full-time job, conversating, creating, talking, going on Twitter, creating content on TikTok, like all this stuff. And so I think shoot, man, it's kind of hard, but I do know that if I position myself in the right communities and the right environment, I'll have that answer right away when it comes. And that's I think that's the key, is even if it's not happening right now, be ready for when it does. And actually, I would say that right now is the opportunity that a lot of people have been waiting for. A lot of people think about it, like the Munich Yacht Club was about what, $100,000 2 months ago. It's 40 grand now, right?
40.
Sure.
So now it's like, oh, look, it's a lot more affordable. It's a lot more like, I mean, it's still a lot of money, but it's like a lot more, like, it's a lot closer to people. And a lot of these are opportunities that people haven't been seeing. And what I tell people too is like, a lot of people are gonna like suffer in this kind of like bear market. A lot of projects are gonna die. A lot of people are gonna dwindle away. But there's also a lot of projects that are building. There's a lot of projects that got a lot of funding, that are working on things, and they're developing whatever is going to be next. And right now, because everybody's panicked, it's $100, it's $200, it's $300. And right, I think I saw someone say the other day that most millionaires are made in the bear market.
Like, I believe it.
When people get in, and so for me, I think it's those people. It's being in groups. I mean, Hoff, you invited me to the back alley, right? Where it's other Web3 people. And so for me, those are I think that's the real alpha. That's the real,
for sure,
real, not only the real money, but that's where the real key is. Great example. I just as soon as I got off this call, I was talking to, I don't know if you guys know Nifty Nanners, but Nifty Nanners is a Web3 content creator. This guy is a fucking genius. He has like 4 moonbirds. And wow. Dude, I'm like, bro, I need to learn from you.
Yeah.
I need to know what you're doing, because if you're in a position to not only own 1, own 4, and know and understand, and he has a bunch of I honestly think he only has blue chips. And so for me, it's like, I talk to him directly because I'm a content creator, and I've built a little relationship with him. And I can literally go on DMs right now and ask him like, hey, what's the next trend next month? And because he's in the Proof Collective too. So because he's in the Proof Collective and I'm a buddy with him, he could easily be like, oh, look, these are the things you're going to want to look at. And he was actually talking about moonbirds a month before it even launched. And so see, like, that's what I mean. That awareness of knowing the environment and the people that you're surrounded by are the key. That's what I think is really our focus. That's where I think is really not only honing in on these relationships, but making the best use of them, right? Like, like there's bro, there's a lot of millionaires in Web3, like billionaires and millionaires, and they're in the same discords as you, and they're one question away. Like the it used to, like, if I wanted to have a meeting with like Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, somebody, and a couple years ago it used to be 10 grand. I don't think it's 10 grand anymore. I doubt it's fucking 10 grand to have a meeting with them. But the cool thing is, like with Web3 and what's going on now, those opportunities are available to you pretty much every day, everywhere. Like
Yeah,
hell,
you
on
got
Twitter. That's why I love Twitter, man. You could be on Instagram, have 2 million people. You come on Twitter, and it's like, you got 10,000, but it's a lot more accessible, and you can't have, I don't know, it's not visual, so you have to, mentally engage people, and that's not always an easy thing. But I found it like being able to reach out to certain people much easier on Twitter than on some of the other platforms. But I think the other thing is like all of this stuff is like not new, right? What you're saying is you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. If you want to be a millionaire, you got to hang out with millionaires, right? That's just what you have to do. And the other thing on these projects is if you do what you say you're going to do, right? That's step one. If you execute, even if you don't execute, but people see you're trying and you're busting your ass and it doesn't come out perfect, people see that, right? And people are going to give you the benefit of the doubt because they know you're grinding. So and then the other thing in business is when you own a business, it becomes more of how to deal with people, right? So who can keep the teams focused and together are going to win. It's a skill to get a good artist. It's a skill to find a good dev. It's a skill to find, a good community manager, and putting that in. It's kind of like building a band. Everyone plays their role, and the people that play the roles the best are the ones that are going to win. So it's not new. It's just, I think in this Web3 thing, because it was new and all this was like, but all the principles are the same.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah,
cool.
Definitely. Oh, go ahead, Harsha.
No, I was just going to say, so you've got this coming out. When do you guys launch? Tomorrow?
We're supposed to launch on the
20th.
Yeah, we're getting ready to launch on the 20th around 3 p.m. Arizona time.
Right on. And you guys have a website, or are you launching on Magic Eden?
No, we just launched I just put up a website today, but we're gonna be launching a mint site. So we'll have our mint site, and then we'll more than likely migrate it over to Magic Eden, and then I'll probably look at OpenSea. I don't know how the Solana OpenSea feature works, but I'd like to see it on OpenSea as well. I think that'd be dope because I like OpenSea.
What's mid price?
1 SOL for whitelist, and then 1.5 for public.
That's so.
Dang, and that's $50 and $75, right?
Yeah.
Good Lord. Awesome. And I also heard that, like, for people who don't know, that gas is like a fraction of a cent on Solana.
Yeah,
is that
so
correct?
It'll literally cost you like $51 to get one. Like, it's literally probably $51.
You got to get you a Phantom wallet, man. You got to get over there. There was some tricky things, like if you have to use DEX to like swap money. Like when I was in Degenerate Trash Pandas, when they like I minted that, and then you had to do this like swap on DEX tools or something like that, and then you had to get a coin, and then it was like a whole thing. So like some of that was kind of tricky for me when I was early on. But it's funny because I know people that are native to just Sol, like they don't know ETH. Or native to Tez. They don't know anything else. And so like they jump over to ETH and they think it's difficult, right? But it's just kind of where you started and where you're at. But dude, that's so awesome. That's accessible. And I'm definitely going to scoop.
Yeah, actually, Alan, I'll be totally honest. You prompted me to research Solana. Before that, I had taken kind of what the masses said. Once we kind of scheduled the show, I said I should take a deeper dive into it. And so I think a lot of people out there are kind of just like me. And they're, Solana is just something that they've heard. They, don't really do too much research into it. It's okay if you don't know the answers, but do you mind if we just put you on the spot and hit you with a quick rapid fire?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Number 1, what is Solana?
I mean, are you talking in the sense of like the blockchain or what?
Just like, yeah. It's just another blockchain like Ethereum, essentially, right?
So from what I know, and just to answer those questions, so for me, I'm not a dev in a sense. I'm like more of the creative and making sure everything runs accordingly.
Okay.
But from what I know, Solana is a blockchain pretty much on the Solana ecosystem. I know they run on different, it has different abilities as far as like what the mechanics of the token can do. But I think of it more of like I'm not really too worried about what the token exactly entails. It's more of like what the opportunity is with what it can present. And so for me, funny enough, and this is I'm glad you actually asked this. A
Great.
lot of people think they have to know everything in order to get into NFTs and Web3. I'm
Sure.
like, guys, I am an idiot and I'm in Web3. Like I graduated with C's and D's. And it's funny enough because it's as easy as going to Google what is a Web3 wallet. It's literally a Google
Watching
extension.
videos.
It's literally a Google extension. You don't if you're I mean, unless you're gonna start Solidity, if you're gonna be a Web3 developer, like yeah, go in and learn the mechanics and the systems and the smart contracts. But if you're not gonna do that, you really all you need to learn is learn to study the market. I mean, again, if you're gonna develop like when you're developing like a video game and you're developing a whole bunch of shit, get in and start to learn like the intricacies. I don't know how to say that word of what the blockchain brings. But as far as like the everyday average user, there's not too much that you really need to like delve into, right? I mean, yes, obviously, like do your research and get involved as far as like what the token is looking to do. Like one of the examples is great. One of the great examples that Hoff was talking about earlier is that I don't think gas prices. If ETH doesn't solve that gas issue, I don't think it's gonna be the world's. It's not gonna be the world's token.
Yeah.
Put it that way. If they can't solve that fucking gas price issue because of how the world is economically set up, if you're trying to incorporate the entire world, something more sustainable in a sense of like, as far as like the gas fees goes, a lot of people would probably navigate more towards Solana when you're trying to bring in the entire world, right? And so, it depends on what exactly you're trying to do with the token itself. But I think it's really just knowing like core fundamentals. That's really, I think, like a big misunderstanding that a lot of people have about the Web3 space. They think like, I have a buddy that's like, dude, I want to get into Web3, but I have no idea where to start. And I can guarantee you for a fact they probably did not even Google what the fuck, and then they probably didn't even. All you need is one MetaMask wallet, and you go to OpenSea. It literally makes the account for you. It literally like it sets it up for you, and I'm like, bro, it's as easy as setting up a Gmail. It's as easy as setting up a Facebook. It's as easy, and even Phantom is pretty much the same way. You can literally Google what are the best Solana wallets, and number one's probably going to be Phantom. I don't really even know the other ones. But
Phantom is what I use. But check this out. So you guys heard Instagram is going to add NFTs, right?
I think I heard something about that.
So to your point, like, could you imagine being on Instagram, you want to buy an NFT and then like get like a $70 gas fee and you're trying to buy it and then all your ETH is gone, you'd flip. But get this. So I just pulled this up. The new Instagram test will not only include NFTs from the most popular blockchain, Ethereum, but also from lesser known Polygon and Solana and Flow. So what you'll see in the future is like, yeah, Ethereum is what is being used now, but it's going to be a combination of all these blockchains. And then whoever can figure out how to integrate all these things and make it seamless is going to win. And that technology hasn't been created yet. But right now we're in dial-up mode, so we're using what we can use. But there's a reason that they're adding those because they want it to be accessible to everybody.
Like coffee just gave me goosebumps because that's the answer. Whoever can figure out how to dummy it down and make it to where I don't even have to know what blockchain I'm using, I just want to get the end product, that's the winner.
Yeah.
When you can make it so easy that I just click a button and I bought it, and somehow my fiat changes to whatever currency that thing needs, and I don't have to worry about conversions and like literally like when I can get my credit card and say, hey, buy this project, and as soon as you click buy, the system itself will transfer your fiat into their native token and then just buy it. You don't have to do anything else. Nothing else.
Yeah, just go back 20 years. Just go like to your point on the bank, right? 20 years ago, we were still doing our checkbook. We were writing the checkbook, right? Nobody balances their checkbook anymore because it's all done. How long ago was it when Zeal got added? 5, 6 years ago? Not that long. If you just look at the evolution of where banking has been and then take crypto, right, where we're at right now, it's like at the beginning of where that was on online banking. And now it's just going to be applying crypto to all of these things moving forward. But your average person was scared. Like your grandma back then never could have imagined not balancing her checkbook with her pen and like the back of the checkbook. Like it wouldn't have happened. But now I guarantee those people they're using the internet, they're logging in, they're doing everything online, paying their bills. But that was not how it was. It was sketchy. People were scared. They fudded the shit out of it.
Okay.
But this is where we're going.
So then let me ask you this, because I was listening to a show today and they were kind of talking about this. When you go on the internet today, like let me just see, like what do I have pulled up? A Gmail, right? You don't go on to Gmail and you're not thinking about, all right, is this made on Oracle, MySQL, Redis? You're not thinking about any of that. Do you think it will eventually get to the point where the blockchain is just kind of on the back end and we're just using things like this that are leveraging it? And you think like, whatever the specific purpose is, we'll say, Ethereum for security, as foreign as that may sound to some people, or, Solana just for performance opportunities. You think that that's kind of like what the future state is? And if so, the argument against that was doing that loses the role that kind of cryptography plays in this whole process. And it loses the opportunity to use the blockchain or transparency as a tool. Does that kind of make sense? It's just like it's a really interesting opportunity to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. But the technology, I mean, if you look at layer ones and side chains and all the stuff that people are building, it's like, dominoes on top, or Legos on top of the blockchain. They're already figuring out how to scale, how to make transactions quick, cheap. A lot of them, like they're already doing this. It's just there's not mass adoption, and they're still in the building phase. But that's the exciting part of all of this. Like, wouldn't you have loved to be there at the very beginning when the .com boom was happening and been like in that action? Like you can watch documentaries about that. But they're going to make documentaries about this time period 30, 40 years from now when all this technology, and there's going to be millionaires made, which are already being made. It's all the same shit.
We made a documentary tonight. We made a documentary tonight.
Yeah, no, dude, 100%. And see, that's the, I always tell people too, like this is such a great opportunity for people to get involved that, us really, like we are the creators. We're it's our job. It's our job to onboard the next person. It's our job to be like, okay, where's the space headed? Wherever we want to take it, because we're the ones that are building it. And so, it's a great opportunity for a lot of people to take that advantage to like be in that .com era right now. You can be in the action right now. This is it. This is it. This is the action, right?
It's scary. I don't want to get in there. I might lose my money. You got to take a risk. Jump in.
Scare money don't make money.
And 100%, dude. This is how I like when I buy NFTs, dude. If I get rug pulled, I mean, obviously I care because like I put money into it. But a lot of times I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. And I go back to my whatever I have to do. And I think like some people that kind of let those kind of like hindrances, or like I know a lot of us aren't like obviously like in financial positions to fucking lose $300-400. Like, maybe someone spent 2 months saving $400 and then have it be a rug pull. That fucking sucks, right? But I think it's like, if you can, like what you said, if you can learn from that, like it's a good opportunity. I one time, great example, I one time lost, I had like $2,000 in XRP. I went on, I think it was like Coinbase.com with a dot at the end on a fucking, like on a Google ad.
Yeah.
Clicked it, I logged in.
Boom.
It was actually Trust Wallet. I clicked it, I logged in, and it said login failed. And I was like, oh, that's weird. It failed. And then fucking 3 days later, all my money, like literally, like I was like looking at my account and I just get a notification. There's a notification that says your money has been sent to somewhere else. And I'm like, what? And I look at it and I'm like, someone's stealing my money. And I literally was like looking at my shit, like every single.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, and I looked up my mom. I was eating food. I was eating dinner and I saw like, someone just jacked $2,000 from me. And it was all the money I had at the time. And then I was like, damn, that sucks. And I kept eating. And then my sister was like, aren't you gonna like, are you mad? Or like, she was like, what are you? She's like, I would be crying. I was like, I mean, well, it sucks, but I mean, I don't know. What am I supposed to do? Right? Like,
Right.
I can only learn from it. I can only, and so from that, I'm thankful that happened at $2,000 and not at $200,000.
Right.
Like that to me is like, bro, good job. You went through it, so at least you know, bro. It kills me when I see these fucking. You see it on Twitter all day. Just lost 5 Bored Ape Yacht Club fucking NFTs, and I'm like, bro,
Crazy.
what? I could not imagine losing just one, and now imagine 5.
Crazy.
Like, bro,
It happens.
Imagine like choosing not to cash out too, like thinking about it and saying, nah, I'm gonna hold, and then having it all taken from you,
I was
man.
just thinking about that the other day.
I know. It's
So
sad.
what do you think about that?
I think it's
'Cause
happened to every single one of us. Like
So-
I've got jacked.
Ain't happening to me again.
Bro, did I tell you guys that? Did you guys buy the Art of Seasons?
No.
So I called out that project in my Discord. I called it out at 0.1. It went up to 1.7 ETH. And I held on to, I had 8 of them, bro. I had 8 of them. And well, it gets terrible. I bought 8 of them because I was like, yeah, like, and I'm a dumbass because I should have trusted my intuition. I was like, yeah, guys, this is it. Like, I'm gonna fucking ape into this shit. Trust me. Like, I'm fucking going all in. I bought 8 of them. It was like $5,000, $6,000. And the next day after reveal, fucking plummeted all the way down to like 0.05, 0.03. And I was like, fuck, bro, I just lost my money. And I was like, fuck, man, fuck it. I'll just recoup my losses, or some of them at least.
Sure.
And so I fucking sold 8 of them, bro, for 0.05. Not even 2 weeks later, 1.7 ETH each. I lost out on $42,000.
I did the same thing with Fluff World, dude. I did the same thing. I dropped 10 G's on Fluff World, and then it literally the next day went down 2/3. And I was still early in NFTs, and I was like, oh my, because it was real money that I had put in. Like, it wasn't money I'd made. I was like, oh shit. And I waited and I waited and I waited, and it came back. But then I sold 3 weeks after I sold. Boom, 4, 5, 6 ETH. I had four of them. But you never know. I'm just happy I got my money back and didn't, get completely rug pulled. But
yeah, sometimes I think like NFTs are actually a really good argument for the fact that we might be living in a simulation, because it's like it never works out how you want. If you would have held those seasons, they would have never ripped, right? But because you sold them, they ripped. It's the same situation, man. I mean, obviously that's not the case, but I feel like that, right? I've had this situation where I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to hold it because I've had this happen to me before. I sell after reveal. It goes and rips, and it just keeps going down and keeps going down and keeps going down, man. I'm like, yo, we might actually be living in a simulation.
Dude, the cool thing is, though, I think and it's really, I think the ones that are going to win are the people that are actively on Discord, on Twitter, on TikTok, on social media, actively seeking, right? The people that are watching this live right now, I have a couple people in my Discord. Like, these are the people that are going to win long term, because they can hear stories of like, hey, I fucking fell to a phishing link scam. And then hopefully they hear that and they're like, okay, don't fucking click links that you shouldn't. Yep. And now that saves them 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 grand, whatever that, right? Those are the people that I think, I mean, some guy, and I saw some guy said that he bought $90 worth of NOW Cannibals, that one derivative that I said like was fucking dumb.
Yeah.
This guy made $42,000 off $90.
Crazy.
What the fuck?
Crazy. Goodness.
Yeah, but think how many
gracious.
people lost their ass.
Oh yeah, no,
when they got pulled.
yeah, that sucks for them. But like, I mean, like,
Or learned their
like
ass again.
opportunity for the person that is actively seeking that opportunity, it's there. It is there in front of you. And so for me, like that's why I think like those are the people that are gonna win, you know, long term. But it's funny that you say that because I kind of like agree with that. Like it's funny because you're like, oh man, like what the fuck, like so many chances, and you're like, no, like that was it, or like you'll look at a project and you're like, nah, it's not gonna do well, and then sure enough, the next fucking day, it'll fucking either skyrocket or something will happen in here, and then it's funny because then you'll FOMO. See, that's where the FOMO
I
comes
know
in,
it.
and then you're like, no, dude, I'll give you a great example, and this is I was in my Discord, so we do calls in my Discord for the Cannibal holders.
Yeah.
And I was looking at a project and I was looking at the activity and I was like, actually, this might be a good buy. And I fucking bought it. I think I bought it at like 0.2. And automatically it went up to like 0.5, like within like 20 minutes. And I was like, oh shit, I made like $700 right away. And then I had a guy in my Discord. He was like, hey, dude, should I buy in at 0.5? He asked me. And I was like, dude, honestly, I'd be very cautious. You know, I got in at this price. I got lucky. I mean, you know, I don't know if it's gonna continue to rise, but I'm just gonna tell you to take the time to not FOMO into it and just be careful. Don't just because you see it jump up $600 doesn't mean it's gonna jump another $600.
Right. For sure.
So I told this kid that, and he was like, yeah, you know what? I'll wait. And so for me, I ended up selling it that like within an hour. I sold it. Cool. I made my $600. The next day, it dropped $800. And then that kid came into my Discord the next day, and I was like, "Hey, dude, remember when I told you not to FOMO into it?" I was like, "That's why, because you would have bought in at my exit.
Right.
You would have bought in when I was trying to leave." And so that was a cool lesson for him because he's like, "Oh, look, that's what FOMO is, right?" And so I think it's like it's a good learning opportunity for people to like, you know, like, okay, and trust me, and it's funny. And tell me this is not true. Tell me you'll see a project like, let's say it's worth $500, and at first, but let's say it has no traction. You're just looking at it, and you're like, okay, maybe it's worth $500. Like I don't know. You're kind of like on the fence about it. You're like, should I do it? Should I not? Like I don't know. And then all of a sudden, the next day, you see it go to 1,000, and you buy it right away. And you're like, bro, you were contemplating it at 500
Yup.
because you saw everybody else buy it at 1,000. You bought it at 1,000, and you're happy to spend 1,000 on it because you're like, okay, it's worth it. I'm like, bro, what? Like
It's all speculation. Like I said, we're a year in. It's not like you can pull up a PE ratio and look at the yield and look at, you know, the performance over 10 years and, you know, value it. You're 1 year in on a lot of hypothetical. You just got to be careful, you know. And I think now if you sit back, because they're not moving as much, you can really get into a project. How long have they been here? Research it. You know, you have a little bit more data, and eventually things will come back. But just
so I have a
just gotta be
question
careful.
for you guys. What do you guys think is the move? Like
Right now?
what projects do you think are gonna be here the next 5 years? Like what are you guys looking at?
Well, 5 years, anything could happen. Regulation could come in and change the whole entire game. There's some outside factors. And this is what I say. Everybody has good projections. You want to go raise money from somebody? Are you going to put a graph that goes down? Are you going to say, I'm going to lose money and this is going to happen? No, it's the line goes up and everything goes right. So why do some businesses fail and why do some businesses succeed? It's all the stuff we were just talking about. And it's so hard to even think 5 years down the road because the trend could change. A new blockchain could be the dominant blockchain. Solana could just take off, and then everything on Ethereum is like no one wants it anymore. I think right now, for me, it's like I can see a year or two. I would look at who has the most money, who has the most runway. So you think Bored Ape Yacht Club, they got $400 million in investment. I would be looking at who has enough money to be here for the next 3 years, and that's what I would buy in.
I mean, you allowed this 3 fucking ETH, bro. I'm like, bro, have you guys like? Is everybody on? And see, this is a great example as to why I know you're right. I don't know if you guys, Hoff, do you own a Smiles? I don't know if I ever saw you with
I
a Smiles.
did. I own 2. I'm thinking about buying back in just because
Bro,
it's low.
so that was a great example. When I bought into the Smiles at first, I was like, yo, it was $1,000 when I was buying in. I was like, oh, this is dope as fuck. Like I love it. Like the art's fucking amazing. The guy is docs. He looks like he's gonna execute. And he's a good creator and he's a great designer. So to me, I was like, yo, this is an easy one. Like, hell yeah, buy it. I remember I bought 1, I bought 2, I bought 3, I bought 4, and then I don't know if you remember, but it went down to like $700 for like a 2-week span. And then I remember I was like, what the fuck? I was like, people are stupid. I bought like 5 more when it went down to $700, and then I just forgot about them. I was like, I'll be good. Like, I'll be good. And sure enough, about 40 days later, they ended up going to like $9,000 each. I think at one point.
You're over 1.
Dang, Alan, sheesh.
So I spent like $4,000 and I made like 25 on them. But it was because I was able to kind of like see the long term, and it's kind of like what you're talking about in a sense. Like I think Yuga Labs is going to be one of the first sure ones to be here. Like whether it goes down or up, like if they fuck up, everybody else is fucked. If they can't make it work.
But here's what you got to look at, right? So not everybody can afford Yuga. You can't. 3 ETH is a lot of money. So now look at who, like Gutter Cat, right? Gutter Cat Gang, we talk about that a lot, but you can buy the second tier project, right? So you can buy that for 0.16 right now and be in the ecosystem of an ecosystem that already raised like $200-300 million, right? So even though you're buying at this amount, you still have an opportunity if the project continues to be something to make money. VFriends Series 2, Alien Friends 2, World of Women Galaxy. There's a lot of these second tier, if you're trying to invest money in good projects, that you can be in the ecosystem, and it's a lot safer than maybe taking these other projects that are at like page 5, 600 on OpenSea, and you don't really know where they're at. If I was coming in, I would pick those second tier projects that are good if I was going to invest there, and then go through some of these other ones and then maybe take some stabs. But something that's at like 0.07, that's really hard to figure out right now. Like, do you think that's got the runway to go 10x again? I don't know. I mean, if it's been around for 6 months and it's sitting at 0.07, what's the likelihood of that coming back?
Okay, yeah, I can definitely see that. But I guess let me chime in here. One, I definitely agree on Gutter Cat. The reason I like them is I think they're like willing to share with the community, at least the rumors or what they're saying, however you want to say that. The lore around the project is it seems like they are really ready to give back. So I do like the Gutter Cats there. After that, man, I always look at like Alien Friends, Krypton Goons, and Moris would be kind of like, they're all somewhat comparable. And to be honest with you, out of the 3, I think Alien Friends could do it. But I think Goons are the ones putting their boots on the grounds right now, really going after it. But my official answer, and I talked about him before on the show, is this right here. And it's from Pio. He's the one who told us about it. Something Token is what it's called. It's basically the guy who created Reddit created this. And basically what he is attempting to do is make it so that you can sell physical things, buy and sell physical things as NFTs. You buy this token, it kind of gives you early access. Yeah, so this one is one that I'm really looking at getting into, and this would be the project that. Here's my logic on this project. I think right now it's at 0.1, maybe 0.106.
We talked about that in our alpha group when it came. You know what's funny? I follow Peel's Twitter on my Discord. So like one of the tools that we have on our Discord is Twitter trackers. Okay, and nice. So I track all the alpha people. I track Fleur, I track Pio, Wang, anybody that is fucking talking alpha. I'm like, our community can see their tweets live. Like as soon as Pio tweets, we get it in our Discord because of things like that. Yeah, I know for a fact that the something token did like a 7x like within 5 hours. Like when it minted, it's like a huge spike in interest. I think like for me, I know I feel like you can bet on Gary V. So like a VFriends Series 2.
Looking at that.
If you're gonna bet on anybody, that's probably the guy. That's probably one of the guys. Like when you're talking about somebody that's, and even Gary V. I was listening to a space that Gary V was on, and he was talking about that. He's like, look, a lot of people can like. I have people. He was talking about like I have people coming in here and like Gary V. Why is your project 0.4? You're fucking Gary V. I'm like, bro. He's like these people don't get it. He's like I'm gonna be here, and then for the next. He's like I'm not worried about making them happy. He's like I'm worried about making the person that buys in at 0.2 and holds it for the next 10, 20 years, and then they can pay off their college, blah blah blah, because they he's like they're betting on Gary Vaynerchuk, someone that's created not one, not two, not three, not the guy that invested in Facebook, Twitter, fucking all this shit. It's like you're betting on that. It's like you're not betting on fucking VeeFriends. He's like, and I'm willing to bet that I'm gonna be here. And see, to me, that's the answer. That's the key, right? And I mean, he has the track record to back it up. And so like that's a good one. I really do believe like if you're I think if you're in, obviously none of this is financial advice, but I think if you're in the VeeFriends ecosystem, like you'll be good. Just hang on in there. Go do something else while this kind of whole market goes crazy. But if you're a Gary V holder, you should be all right in the long term.
Speaking of, flying out tomorrow.
How is that, dude? What do you got planned?
What's that?
What do you got planned?
Nothing, man. I just show up to things and have an open mind. Whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you're like, I don't know. You ever go on like a trip and you're like, oh, I'm going to pull so many chicks, and then it never happens. Like, and then you're just disappointed. But then when you don't plan it, like, it happens. Well, you're getting married, but
that's how I felt about NFT NYC. Like when we went, like I remember when we went, the guy that I went with, he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna fucking hit this spot, do this. Like it was a bunch of shit." And I was like, "Bro, like, let's just go enjoy it. Let's just go hang out. Let's see what see. Let's see who we can talk to. Let's see what's going on." And see, like that for me is also like I think very important for people in the space, and I sometimes lose sight of that too, to where I'm so focused on like I'm so focused on the gains and the flips and the alpha, and like I sometimes lose sight of like, wait, hold on, like, bro, these are some, you got great community. There's awesome people on Twitter. Like, relax, like, like see it for what it is. Like, don't get so lost in it to where it loses its fun, right? Like,
definitely.
That's a great example. I mean, that's how I met Hoff. I just saw him. I liked what he was wearing. I literally walked up to him. I was like, you guys look cool. Like, you guys are wearing something that I would wear. What's up? And now we're here on fucking, we're on the show. Second show.
Episode 2. Come on now.
Hell yeah. Well, shit, man. We went a little bit longer today. I actually got to start packing.
Yeah. So before we go, let me just finish the rapid fire. I got 2 quick ones for you. First one. What are you most excited for about Solana Slumdogz?
I think the most exciting thing for me is gonna be seeing who that community is gonna be. So once the Discord's open right now, so anybody can come in and they can all kind of like see where we're at. But once it's launched, we're gonna switch it to holder only. And those people, I really want to see the environment that's created, because this is the first time I close off a Discord. And so for me, I'm just excited to see the environment for a exclusive private community compared to like an open public one. I want to see if there's more value in, because sometimes think about it like this, like I think sometimes like when people invest, they're more invested. Like when you're in and you're in, like you're more willing to learn and become a part of the community, right? So like think about it like this. If I save up $2,000 to buy something, it's because I want to be a part of your community. I want to be a part of what you have going on. Compared to like, like I did a free mint, so that was cool. Like people got in for free, but a lot of people take advantage of that, and they're like, oh, it didn't cost me shit. There's no value to me, and so I'm just interested in seeing the dynamic of creating that sort of like your member. It's really like a members only, and I don't really like doing members only because I want to include and bring in everybody, but I'm just interested in seeing that kind of dynamic and how that evolves, and kind of seeing where that goes. That's kind of like that community camaraderie is where I'm kind of looking forward to.
Yeah, definitely. Who knows, man? Maybe you'll instill a different type of focus, or like we talked about, position yourself in a different way than other projects have been able to. So the last question is for you, Alan. Is it going to be a Solana summer?
Dude, I honestly think so. Like, I mean, I watch the charts every single day, and I think Solana's the move, at least for now. Like, I mean, you guys have been seeing, and I a lot of times too. Like, I think the market will tell you indicators beforehand. So, great example, OK Bears being number 2 on the charts. Hoff talking about how there's 16 projects that came up. The derivative being number 1 on OpenSea, and it was a Solana derivative.
Yeah.
So it was like, I think that's indicating that, and I look at the Twitters too, bro. All these big people that I follow for Alpha, everybody's
They're all buying Solana.
maybe I should start looking into Solana. Like a lot of the ETH maxis are becoming like maybe Solana's not so bad, and I feel like that's just indicating something that I feel as well, and I really do believe that Solana might come, like it's probably gonna have a good little run, even especially when everything's going like this, right? Because think about it, if the market's going to shit, spending $70 in a bull market is easy, but spending $70 in a bear, you're like, oh fuck, I gotta think about where my money goes. And so that's gonna incentivize a lot more people to look at other blockchains that are more economically friendly. And so in conclusion, I do think it's definitely gonna be looking like a Solana summer.
I second that.
Yeah, outstanding. Well, again, Alan, thank you so much for coming on for a second time. We really appreciate it. We're gonna plug you real quick. You're at Alan, the NFT guy on Twitter. He's got his link tree down there, but his project at Solana Slumdogz, launching 5/20/22. Come on, that's 3 days from now. Definitely want to get in while it's hot. You know, this is a guy that I believe in. Hofstra, I know you believe in him as well. We're glad to have you on a second time. We got to tell everybody, if you enjoyed this content, the number one thing that you can do is tell somebody else about it. Really would appreciate that. The number 2 thing you can do for us is like, comment, and subscribe. Otherwise, again, Alan, thank you so much for coming on. To our viewers, thank you all for joining us. Let us know what you would like to see on the show next. Hofstra, what you got for him?
What he said.
There it is. Couldn't have said better myself. Alan, thanks again so much, man.
Hell yeah, thanks for having me, man.
All right, y'all. Until next time,